The snow outside my office window looked like falling glitter, soft, calm, and almost too perfect. It was Christmas Eve again, and the city skyline sparkled in gold and silver lights, like it had forgiven the world for everything. I hadn't. Not completely. I leaned back in my chair, smoothing the silk sleeve of my ivory blouse, staring at my reflection in the glass. People saw confidence when they looked at me now. Madison Blake, founder of Haven and Hearth, one of New York's fastest-growing interior design firms. But behind the poised smile and the heels that made me look taller than my doubts, there was a secret I'd carried for years, a secret born from the cold. My phone buzzed softly on the desk. The caller ID froze me mid-breath. Mom. For a second, I couldn't move. Her name on that glowing screen was enough to pull me back through time, past the polished glass and the success, straight into the frostbitten night I thought I'd buried. I let it ring twice before answering. My voice came out steady, professional, distant. Hello. The voice on the other end trembled. Maddie, it's Christmas Eve. We were wondering if you'd come home this year. Home. The word hit me like an icicle. Sharp, beautiful, dangerous. I swallowed hard, staring at the snow. Funny, I said quietly. I thought you already kicked me out of that home. And just like that, the memories began to melt their way back into me, slowly, painfully, inevitably. It all started that Christmas Eve. I was 19 that Christmas Eve. The air inside our house smelled like pine needles and cinnamon candles, my mom's favorite scent. The tree glittered in the corner, dressed in ornaments we'd collected over the years. It should have felt like warmth, like family. But that night, everything felt off, brittle, like one wrong word would shatter it all. My father sat at the dining table, his jaw tight, his glasses sliding down his nose as he scrolled through bills. Mom was pacing, whispering to him harshly, her voice trembling. And I, standing there with a small envelope in my hand, was about to tell them something I'd been keeping secret for months. I got accepted, I said finally, my voice small but hopeful. The design scholarship to New York. Full ride. For a moment, silence. The kind that feels heavy enough to crush you. Dad looked up slowly. You applied without telling us? I wanted to surprise you, I said, smiling weakly. This is everything I've worked for. Mom's face fell, not with pride, but with something close to disappointment. New York? Alone? You think you can just run off and chase wallpaper and paint? It's not wallpaper, Mom, it's design. Architecture, space. She cut me off. You're barely 19, Madison. You don't even have a plan. Who's going to pay your rent? What if you fail? The word fail landed like a slap. I got the scholarship, I whispered. I won't need your help. Dad's hand hit the table, hard enough to make the glasses rattle. You've been hiding things under a roof? Lying? I felt the tears pressing at the corners of my eyes. It's not lying if it's dreaming. That did it. Mom's face went cold. If you're so sure of yourself, go live that dream. Tonight. I blinked. What? Pack your things. You want independence? Go earn it. And just like that, on Christmas Eve, I was standing in the garage, bare feet on concrete, suitcase half-zipped, my breath coming out in little clouds. The sound of the lock clicking behind me was louder than any scream. I sat on an old blanket, hugging my knees. The cold sank through my skin, but the hurt burned hotter. On a shelf beside me was a small wooden box, my grandmother's. She'd passed away 2 winters before. Inside was the silver compass she'd given me when I was 10. A tiny note underneath read, "When you don't know where home is, follow where your heart feels warm." I held it tight against my chest. That night, the world didn't give me warmth, but it gave me direction. New York didn't welcome me with open arms. It greeted me with blaring taxi horns, icy sidewalks, and a loneliness that crept into my bones like the December wind. I had $200, 1 suitcase, and that little silver compass that never seemed to point north, but I kept it anyway. For the first few weeks, I slept on a friend's couch, then in a hostel. I picked up shifts at a corner cafe, pouring lattes by day, sketching room layouts in the quiet after midnight. My hands were often blistered from steaming milk, but when I drew, they felt steady again. Then came her, Lena Hart. She was a customer who always ordered black coffee and carried blueprints under her arm. One evening, she noticed my sketchbook on the counter. "You draw interiors?" she asked. I nodded, embarrassed by the coffee stains on the pages. She studied them quietly, then smiled. "You've got an eye. Come by my firm tomorrow. I could use an intern who sees space the way you do." That one conversation changed everything. Lena wasn't just a boss. She was the first person to believe in me since my grandmother. She taught me the business behind design, the way light could change mood, how colors told stories. I soaked it all in, every project, every sleepless night, every mistake that made me better. There were nights when I'd walk back to my tiny apartment, barely big enough for a twin bed and a desk, and whisper to myself, "You're getting closer, Maddie. Keep going." Years passed like the changing of seasons. I built a small reputation, took on freelance clients, and slowly turned my name into something people remembered. My design started appearing in local magazines, then national features. By 25, I had enough savings to launch my own firm, Haven and Hearth. The first office was nothing glamorous, a rented room above a bakery that always smelled like cinnamon rolls. But it was mine. And while my family never called, I didn't reach out either. I told myself I was too busy, too focused. But the truth was simpler. I wanted them to hear my name someday, not from me, but from the world. Over the next 5 years, my company grew quietly but powerfully. We landed luxury hotel contracts, high-end apartments, even charity renovation projects for shelters. I poured my soul into every wall, every space, building warmth for others when I'd once been left out in the cold. Sometimes, when reporters asked about my inspiration, I'd smile and say, "I know what it's like to start with nothing." What I didn't tell them was that I still kept that compass on my desk. It reminded me of a girl sitting in a freezing garage on Christmas Eve, clutching hope like it was fire. And that girl? She built her own warmth. 5 years later, Christmas Eve came again, this time wrapped in gold instead of frost. My office sparkled with garlands and soft fairy lights. Clients had sent gift baskets stacked high with ribbons and champagne, and my assistant was humming carols as she locked up early. I stayed behind, sipping cocoa from a white porcelain mug, letting the calm settle over me like a velvet blanket. Then came a knock on the glass door. At first, I thought it was a delivery, but when I looked up, my hand froze midair. It was them. My parents stood outside the glass, snow tangled in their hair, their faces pale from the cold, and something else, uncertainty. My heart stuttered, then steadied into a slow, controlled rhythm. I opened the door. Mom's voice came out soft, unsure. "Maddie." Hearing that name from her lips again, after all these years, felt strange, like a song you used to love, but can't quite remember the lyrics to. "What are you doing here?" I asked quietly. Dad cleared his throat, glancing at the polished marble floors, the crystal lights, the plaques on the wall engraved with Haven and Hearth. Madison Blake, founder and creative director. He blinked. This is your company?" I nodded. "It is." For a moment, the silence was deafening. Mom looked around, touching the velvet chairs, the gold-framed sketches, the family photos of me with my team. Her eyes shone with something between disbelief and regret. "We didn't know," she whispered. "We saw your name in a magazine last month. We thought it couldn't be you. Then the article said you were hosting a Christmas charity dinner tonight." I folded my arms. "And you decided to stop by before the dinner? Or after you realized your daughter's success might make a good story to tell your friends?" Her lips trembled. "No, honey, I cut her off gently. "Don't call me honey. Not tonight." Dad sighed, the weight of guilt pressing through his voice. "We made mistakes, Madison. We thought we were protecting you. By throwing me into a garage in the middle of winter?" His gaze dropped. I turned away, letting the emotion pulse through me. But I didn't cry. Not this time. Instead, I walked to my desk and picked up the silver compass, the one that had guided me through every dark turn. "Do you know what this is?" I asked. Mom's eyes widened. Grandma's compass. I thought it was lost. It wasn't, I said softly. It led me exactly where I needed to go. The sound of the clock ticking filled the space. Snow drifted past the window like slow-falling memories. Dad finally spoke. You built all this by yourself? Yes, I said. Every inch of it. Every contract, every late night, every piece of warmth I never had growing up. They looked small then, two people standing in the middle of everything they once told me I couldn't have. Mom whispered, "We're proud of you, Maddie. We really are." I studied her face for a long moment, then smiled, soft but distant. You should be. But pride means nothing if it only comes after proof. The silence after that was heavy, but peaceful in a strange way. Then my assistant poked her head in. Madison, the guests for the charity dinner are here. I nodded. Thank you, Mia. As my parents turned to leave, Mom hesitated. Could we maybe come? Just to see what you've built. I took a deep breath, the faint scent of pine and cocoa wrapping around me. You can stay, I said finally. But remember, this isn't about showing off what I built. It's about giving warmth to people who don't have it. Her eyes filled with tears. Like you once. I met her gaze and smiled faintly. Exactly. The charity dinner was held in the same building, downstairs in the grand hall, lit by chandeliers and the soft glow of candles. My parents followed silently as I greeted guests, donors, and volunteers. The room buzzed with laughter, warmth, and that gentle hum of Christmas spirit that always seemed to escape our house growing up. When the speeches ended, I stepped up to the stage. My voice was calm, steady, practiced. This foundation, I began, was built for anyone who's ever been told they weren't enough. For those who've had doors closed on them or been left out in the cold, literally or otherwise. My parents' eyes met mine across the room. I let the words hang there, deliberate, sharp but true. Afterward, as guests drifted to the buffet and music began to play, I found my parents waiting near the back. Mom's eyes were wet. Dad's were heavy. Madison, he said softly, we can never undo what we did. But we want to make things right. If you'll let us. I studied them for a long moment. The part of me that had frozen that night, the girl in the garage, wanted to scream, you don't get to fix this now. But the woman I'd become understood something deeper. Healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means reclaiming peace on your own terms.
So I nodded slowly.
Maybe we can start, I said. But only if we do it differently this time. Mom wiped her eyes. Tell us what you need, sweetheart. I drew in a steady breath. First, I said, I don't need an apology. I need honesty. I need you to admit you were scared. Of my dreams, of losing control, of me being more than what you imagined. Dad swallowed hard. We were. Second, I continued, I want you both to stop hiding behind fear. You always said security mattered more than passion. But passion is what gave me security. I want you to find something that makes you feel alive again, something that isn't about money or control. Mom nodded, tears spilling freely now. We've forgotten how to live for a long time. Then find it, I said softly, together. They both looked at me, waiting for more. And last, I hesitated, feeling the weight of the moment. Forgive yourselves, but not to erase what happened. Forgive yourselves so you can change. The music behind us swelled, soft piano mixed with the rustle of people laughing, glasses clinking. The scent of cinnamon drifted through the air, the same smell that used to mean home. Dad's voice cracked. And what about you, Madison? Can you forgive us? I looked down at the compass in my hand, the silver edges catching the light. I already did, I whispered. The moment I decided to build something warm in a world that once turned me cold. Mom reached out, hesitating before touching my hand. Her fingers trembled. We're proud of you, she said again, her voice breaking. But more than that, we're grateful. I gave her a small smile. Then start by showing it. Not to me, but to someone else who needs a little warmth this Christmas. The night ended with quiet music and soft laughter echoing through the hall. Guests hugged goodbye beneath the twinkling lights, and the snow outside fell thicker, gentler, like a blanket instead of a burden. When everyone left, I found myself standing by the tall window, watching the city shimmer. My parents lingered near the door, talking in low voices to a volunteer helping pack leftover meals. They looked different. Smaller, softer. The kind of people who finally understood what it meant to give without expectation. I walked over, slipping my coat on. "You two heading home?" I asked. Mom smiled faintly. "Actually, we're going with the volunteers. They're delivering these dinners to the shelter across town." I blinked in quiet surprise, then nodded. "That's good." Dad hesitated. "You coming?" I thought about it for a moment, about the girl who once sat shivering in a garage, the compass clutched to her chest, wondering if warmth was something she'd ever feel again. And then I smiled.
No.
"I think this time you two should go. It's your turn to bring the warmth." They both nodded, tears in their eyes. As they left, Mom looked back one last time and whispered, "Thank you for letting us try again." When the doors closed, silence filled the space. I stood alone, yet not lonely. My gaze fell on the table beside me, where the silver compass lay, gleaming under the soft golden light. I picked it up, running my thumb over the tiny inscription from my grandmother. "When you don't know where home is, follow where your heart feels warm." For the first time in years, I realized what she meant. Home wasn't the house I was thrown out of. It wasn't even the company I'd built. Home was me, the woman who learned to build fire from frost. I slipped the compass into my pocket and walked outside. The cold air met my face, crisp and clean. Somewhere in the distance, a child laughed, and bells chimed faintly from a church down the block. The city glowed with the kind of beauty that only winter knows, the kind you have to survive once to truly see. And as I looked up at the falling snow, I whispered softly, almost like a prayer. That night, they left me in the cold. But the cold is where I learned how to build my own fire.